guys, it's Robin, RsIslandCrafts, and welcome to my craft room. I know this is not the normal view you get on my WiP It Wednesdays, but I have this big old quilt I want to show you before I bring you in closer and show you all the details on all the different projects I worked on. Now remember, my WiP It Wednesday videos are where I show off the projects, the crafty projects that I've worked on during the week, whether I just picked it up and started a project, or I've gone ahead and gotten pretty darn far, if not finished it. So let's look at my monster quilt. This is the log cabin quilt that I was waiting for the green fabric to show from Joann's. It did finally arrive. My second order will be arriving next week. If you remember, I was waiting for it and it seemed the order disappeared, so I reordered the fabric. And right after I reordered the fabric, the original order said they were shipping and it showed up at the house. It's crazy. But let's take a look at this quilt. I have no clue what the measurements are on this quilt. When I get it all finished, I'll go ahead and get that. But here's what it basically looks like. I think the green worked really well on this. This was it was a lime green that I ordered for Joann's. And I kind of expected it to be a little bit of a brighter color. I was thinking it was going to be more like, based on what they showed on the computer, I thought it was going to be more like this kind of green, when in fact it turned out to be this kind of green. And I think it worked out really well. I think this worked out a lot better than if it had been this green. So there's my quilt top. It's definitely large enough for a child or to snuggle with on a couch if you're an adult. Now for my back, I just took some fat quarters. I took 6 fat quarters that were left over from, well, they were in my second fat quarter bundle. And I went ahead and I just added some more of that green. I just put the 6 fat quarters down, 3 on each side, and I added the green to beef it up to make it come up to size. So basically you can really just turn this quilt around and use it reversible either side. Alright, so come on a little closer and we'll look at the rest of the things I've worked on, and I'll give you a close-up look at this quilt. And just so you don't miss the little finger wave, now this is the view we're used to on our WiP It Wednesdays. It's really kind of hard to show you a whole quilt in this little bit of space, right? So let me just show you what one block area looks like on the quilt. So I think it turned out really well. I've got the basic wonkiness here, and this green, like I said, it goes really well with this quilt. A few of you guys were like, ooh, I don't know how lime green's going to work with that. But this, like I said, either they shipped me the wrong thing, or it said lime green on the package, so it had to be what the label was. And I think maybe because it has some of this little mottled look to it like this, is semi-solid, that they might have considered it a lime green. And it's just a little bit lighter. I mean, it's pretty close to accurate of what you guys are looking at, but it just works really well with all these colors. So I went ahead and I put a 4.5 inch border around the top. You know, all 4 sides have got 4.5 inches. And then that was before sewing it in, so it ends up being 4 inches. And I cut the sashing in between at 2.5 inches, and that just brought it up to a really good size. Like I said, I'll get the measurements when I get it all quilted, because it's still going to need to get trimmed down a little bit, but I mean, it's not going to be that much, right? So either way, it's going to be a really good size quilt to snuggle with them on the couch, or for someone to have on their bed. And then here's my backing. I just took my fat quarters, I trimmed off the selvage on the side of it, and then I just stitched them all together. Had to measure it. It's a 5.5 inch strip that I put through here. I don't know what I mentioned as it was yesterday, but it's 5.5 inch strip here. And then I put it a 10.5 inch strip in the center, just to bring it all up to the size that I needed to fit the front of my quilt. So these are the little fat quarters that you have not seen yet. These are the ones that I made a project bag out of. I used one for the outside and one for the lining, and this is pretty good. But I didn't bother cutting these up to put it in the other quilt because I had plenty of fabric without using it. And then I just put a bunch of the stripes because I thought it'd be better to use off the stripes here than if I wanted to do another project with the larger pieces, because the stripes can be a little bit busy. So I used those here. And I tried to mix them up a little bit, but some of them ended up being near each other because I just wasn't really quite paying attention as I was stitching. But it's not like it's a crisis. No one's really actually touching each other with these big green strips in between, right? So now next up, I'm going to go ahead and get this all pin basted so I can quilt it once I decide how I want to quilt it. I might change my mind when I actually get this underneath the sewing machine, but at the moment, I'm seriously thinking about just kind of following and making semi-wonky-ish straight lines, and not necessarily quilting in the ditch, but just kind of doing a straight lined yet wonky spiral, because I consider a spiral in a circle, but this is going to be a square spiral. And I thought I would just go ahead and do that all the way out to the edges, and then maybe meander inside of the sashing and the borders. If you watched on Tuesday, you have seen me, I mentioned that I was thinking about maybe doing a light yellow, a pale yellow all the way through here. It's what I actually stitched the blocks together with. This pale yellow, because it tends to just blend in with all the different fabrics, and that way it won't pop out and smack you in the face. These blocks are bright enough as it is. I don't really need the quilting to pop straight out. And then I'll find a green that is closest to this that I can find. I think I just used a dark green when I stitched it, so that one I think is going to be a little bit too dark for it. But I have a couple different greens, so I'll figure something out. And once again, like I mentioned yesterday, I'm going to use the same green here for the binding. So I don't want this quilt to be framed by like a variety of these fabrics or pinks or yellows or blues. I want it to just kind of float out into space. Stay tuned to the end of this video today because I have some postcards and some friend mail to show you, and you don't want to miss out on that. I've got some really cute things to show you. On Sunday, I went ahead and started the embroidery series. I'm testing out a way that I was holding it in my hands to film it. It's okay, it worked, but I'm going to try seeing if I can put it in a stand and on my lap and see if that helps the filming at all. But we went ahead and we stitched this little flowery weed thing. We learned the stem stitch, the straight stitch, and the French knot. So we got a lot accomplished in one day there. Just in case you don't remember, this is the floral heart embroidery pattern for 6-inch hoop by Cutesy Crafts. So I did go ahead and get my half and half dishcloth finished. It doesn't look quite half and half because once you hit 42 stitches, I did stitch one more row in the green. And that one little extra row, it sure does make a difference there. Just sets it off a little bit so it looks like the green is a bit more than the gray. And it is by one row, but that's not really that much. I pulled out this red. Oh my gosh, definitely yarn barf. I was trying to find the end of it, and look at all this extra yarn that I had to pull out just to get this started. It is just a baby little dishcloth right now, but I like this ruby red. This is the Premier Home yarn that I picked up at Michael's, and this color is Wine Splash. These were all splashes. This was like Pickle Splash and Puddle Splash and Wine Splash. I guess it's better than just calling it color number 4, right? I also completely finished my unicorn project. If you remember, I was doing this. I believe this one is also from Cutesy Crafts. I did all the embroidery for this unicorn a little while ago. Then I went ahead and I got it all together into a quilt. I just did some meander quilting here with the white, and then I did a ton of straight stitching in the purple. And I really like how this purple, I got the dark purple that does the binding and kind of frames it like a picture frame. And I'm really enjoying that with these projects like I did with the pumpkin. And this embroidery, I didn't do any of the quilting here, so it kind of has it a little bit poofy. And then on the back, I just used a pale purple. And then even on the back, the quilting is really fun. I just love when you can see the quilting on the back like this. Now, if it's just something simple, it's no big deal. But if like you're doing the thread painting where you're like stitching along a tree or something and you can see the shape, this kind of looks like a moon on the back of the fabric. I just started out by stitching my line quilting here. You can see I just started here. Then I just followed it along. And then right here, in my little seam, you can see I just took a couple stitches and then I just followed it all the way back through. I snuck a couple stitches right along this edge here. And I think when you're looking at it from a distance, okay, I know that those little stitches are there so I can see them. But even though that I can see them, I don't think it's that all big of a deal because it's all lined up right there and they're all done that way together. But it just makes it for really fun on the back. And I really like, this is like framing with an extra, you know how you do have the matting and then you have the picture frame. I just think that looks really good with these quilts. And I'm probably going to do a few more like this before I move on to some other style. This one is also going to be going into my art fire shop. The pumpkin one is already there. You can find a link for my shop down below in the description box. If you can't find the description box, just look up RsIslandCrafts and you'll be able to find my art fire shop real easily that way. When I do my WiP It Wednesdays, I list all my projects here so I can remember who designed them and what the name was. But I just wanted to show you that I did even put a little Happy Halloween. I am not an artist, but just because I can't draw very well doesn't mean I can't have fun, right? So I started a new project. This is the Mistake Rib Scarf, and I'm using the pattern by Knit Freedom. Once again, my Ravelry link is down below, and that'll link you to whatever project I happen to be working on. Now, I don't always get pictures in there, but I do at least start the project page so you can find the pattern. I'm using this. This is just an acrylic red heart yarn that I've had for a bit. I'm trying to go through my stash and use up some stuff, and I thought this would make a nice scarf for a man or a woman. I'm going to be giving this as a Christmas gift. I've only got like 4 or 5 rows started, so I'm really just at the beginning of it. And I'm actually doing it on straight needles for once, because I needed a size 6, and for a scarf on straight needles, it's really simple. I find that a scarf on straight needles, I tend to do my stitches a little tighter than if I use the circular needles, because you're only working on this much needle and the rest is your little loop, your cable in between the 2 needles. I don't know, it just seems to make it a little bit looser for me. So I dropped down, the yarn normally calls for a size 8 needle. I dropped down to a 6 so that I can have a little bit of a tighter finish. I think I've been knitting a little bit looser on some items, so I wanted this weave to be a little bit warmer, because what's the point of a loose scarf in the winter? Now, if I was making a fancy lacy one, that's fine, but I want this one to actually keep somebody warm, so I dropped down the needle size. I want to veer off a little bit from the usual. Now this, I normally show you a project that I've worked on even just a little bit. This one is a project I'm going to be working on, but I wanted you to see what it looks like before I start. I was contacted by one of my viewers, and they wanted to know if I could finish one of their projects for them. And I said, well, let me see what it is, and we had a discussion, and I said, sure, I'll go ahead and finish it for you. This kit is from 1975, is when it was created. Now, I don't know when she actually started it, but this is an embroidery. It's called Creative Crewel Stitchery. So I'm not sure. I think crewel is just because you're using wool yarn, and embroideries because you're using floss, but it's basically about the same stitches. So let me show you what is done on it so far, so that when we talk about it next week, you won't think, oh, she's done a lot. As it's come to me, it's already gotten all the letters done here, and she started a little bit up in the sky. So I'm going to need to do the boy in the boat and all the ocean waves. See, 1975. I actually looked up, it has the Roman numerals down here, so instead of trying to figure it out myself, I just went ahead and Googled the Roman numerals and let them tell me, right? So I'm going to be starting on that this week. This is what's going to be my main embroidery project for the week. I'm probably going to try to, it's not too bad. I think I can go ahead and put this in a hoop and work on each section. It's a nice sturdy fabric, but I don't know if I want to actually do it in hand, because you're doing a lot of short and long stitches, and I want to make sure that they're going to lay nice and flat. Now, I've never done crewel before, so I'm not sure how this works. A lot of these ends aren't woven in, so I'll probably go ahead and just weave these in just to make sure when it's all said and done that the project is going to stay in good condition and nothing's going to come apart. I have a feeling that since it's wool that you're able to just stop, because the hole will close up on the wool and the wool will spread open and bloom a little and it'll hold it in place. But I think I'd feel a little bit better that when I hand it back to her that all these little ends are woven in and that we're not going to have to worry about anything coming out. Now some of them look like they have already been worked over, but a lot of them, like when you're coming down to the end here, it looks like it just came straight out of the hole and then that's where it's at. So I'll have to go through, and if I don't work over any of these threads here, I will go ahead. See how this one is just right there at the end of the project? I'll go ahead and weave that in because it's over here on this side. Like I said, I don't know if you actually have to. I'll read the directions to see what they say. But going forward, I'll definitely be weaving mine in because I'll feel more comfortable with that. I have all the floss from the kit, so I don't have to worry about matching any colors or anything like that. So I'm in good shape. I'm sure this is going to take me more than just a few days of working on it, so you're probably going to see progress on this for a couple weeks. Next up is Robbie Socks. I only put about 3 rows on this one sock. This is the one we were talking about last week with that big blob of gray. Well, it worked out really well because on the second sock, I did all of this on this sock, and it also has that big blob of gray and the purple. So let me see. They're actually pretty close. I think this one, it's a little bit different here. This one has this long bit here, where this one doesn't. But like I said, Robbie doesn't care if his socks match perfectly. He just likes that this sock is made from the same yarn as this sock. So otherwise, he's going to be fine with it. So I've actually been enjoying some time on this project this week. So I still need to get hustling on this one because Christmas is coming and he has big feet. Mr. Size 14. Now I have a pile here of empty bear skins again. I told you last week that I was working on this project for memory bears. I finished all 5 memory bears. If you remember that I told you my customer just wants me to make them, that she wants me to send them empty, she's going to go ahead and stuff them herself. I went ahead and put blue eyeballs in because Daniel had blue eyes, and since this is a memory bear from his clothes so that she can remember her son, she wanted to have blue eyes for everybody. Now, these do move around just a little bit, but once she gets them stuffed, everything will be fine. This is going to be really soft for anyone who's going to be snuggling up to these bears. So there's bear number 1. He's all purple in his body. This one is going to actually be for the mom. This has all of the fabrics in it. She wanted to make sure she was hoping she could get a bear that had all the fabrics in it, and I was able to. I had plenty of it to use for everything. I figured I'd at least get it into the ears so that all the fabric was represented. I even got little Scooby-Doo sleeping there on his pillow on the ears, so I thought that was really cute. And then there was a bear that is 2 of the bears that were just all of the purple. Now these were the collar and some of the, on the pants where they flared out on the bottom. That's what this little zebra stripe is. So I put one bear's foot, the feet go left and right. And then the other one I did them up and down so that they could tell if they were going to the sisters, they would be able to tell whose bear was who. Because they're basically identical. I didn't think to put, left ear, right ear, because I knew I was going to mark which one was which like this. So this way they're identical, yet they can still tell them apart. And the last 2 bears, they only wanted it out of the pajama fabrics, the 2 blue ones. Sticking with the theme of the blue eyeballs and Snoopy sleeping on his pillow. I tried to get his face in here. Even down into the nose, I tried to make sure I got some of his face. I did each foot separately, so I got the sleepy one and a face. And then the rest just happened to lay how it lays. Thankfully, the face fabrics and stuff that they went in different directions. Now, I didn't always get them perfect. Some of them are upside down, but that's okay because that's just how it works when you're cutting things out. The kids are not going to mind. So I got him on his foot there and his face. So I think these came out really, really well. I love the way they turned out. And I'm really sure my customer is going to love them too. So these are going to be getting out into the mail to her, and she's going to be very excited. She'll have plenty of time to get them stuffed and stitched up before Christmas. Now, after spending the previous week working on this 3-color cashmere cowl, I kind of hit a roadblock, and I really just did not want to work on it at all this week. So I only made a little bit of progress, but progress is progress. I definitely need to have this done. I want to have it done before Thanksgiving. So I'm past the halfway mark. It should start going fast now. Once I get through this section, it's just a little bit of stripes, and then I think one or two of these sections. So it's going to go pretty quick. I'm just going to have to convince myself that it's fun to work on it and get some done this week. And this is a 3-color cashmere cowl by Joji Locatelli. It's a paid-for pattern on Ravelry. I did start a new project that you guys haven't seen yet. My daughter has a friend, her best friend has twin boys. They are so adorable. They're about 1.5 years old. I think they were born in February, maybe March. But Thanksgiving's coming, and she wanted them to have turkey hats. So I've gotten as far as making the actual hats. Now this turkey hat is going to have drumstick legs over here on the side of it. And then I'm going to make some braids that hang down from the little ear flaps here. So I got as far as making the actual hat. I have to go really careful with the crochet because it bothers my shoulder. So I have to pick and choose when I'm doing it. But my daughter knows that problem, and she always lets me know ahead of time what she needs and if I can make it. So I'm making 2 turkey hats. As I said, I tend to crochet them inside out, and then I have to flip them this way because this side looks nicer than this side. But, you know, everyone has their own preference. This is just the way I like it. And the second one for the other boy. Now this one is going to get some orange trim all the way around it, and then he'll have a variety of color tassels from the different tail feathers. He's going to get the turkey face and the little gullet gizzard thing, that red thing that hangs down, and he's going to have the tail leaves. They're going to basically by the shape of a leaf, but they're going to be the tail feathers that go all along up at the back of the hat. So when he wears it, he'll have the little face here, and coming up off the back will be like, think of autumn leaf colors for the tail. I haven't gotten any farther on these hats just simply because I need to go into the yarn stash buried in the closet and find the different colors that I'm going to use. I'm hoping to have this done, well, I was thinking I was going to have it done by Halloween, but really today's Halloween, right? So that's not going to happen. So maybe for the first week of November, this is probably going to be my main project to work on to start with in the knitting and crochet category, because this really needs to get done so that she has time to meet with the mom and get it down to her, because I think they're about an hour away from us because they work together, and we lived a half hour this way and she lived a half hour that way. But I'll get it done. And my last project is my mitered square blanket. I got 8 squares done on this one this week. I'm still closing in my corner. So I have these 3 and these 3. And yeah, I know that's only 6. But what I started doing, because I got tired of closing in the corner, anytime I would finish off, let's see, where's my red? Okay, I finished off this red square here. So then I went ahead and I took it and I brought it all the way down, because it's all the way up here. So I brought it all the way down here, and I started bringing out my blanket this way so that I can add to the width of it, and then I'll make the stair stepping up here and work on this section. That's what's really good about this, because you're joining your squares as you go. You can kind of add to them anywhere. You can't like make 12 squares here and 12 squares here, because then you'd have to stitch them together. But you can make 12 here and then add another row of 12 onto it. So I'm not sure how wide I'm going to go, but I'm just going to go ahead and start building this out. And like I said, I'll just start filling that section in there. But while I already have the yarn out, I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and take it from here and then start a new square. And then keeping within getting more than 1 square out of the ball of yarn, I went ahead and I got another 3 out of this ball of yarn. So I started with this green one here, and it went into this peachy orange color, so that when I started over here, it went from this peachy into this mauve-y cream, and I got just a little bit of purple in there, and then that purple went back into this green, which would then go right back to here. So that's really nice. That it's just fun to see those 3 different squares, but they're all made from the same cake of yarn, because like I said, you're only doing this little 2-inch square, and you're usually getting a big section on your sock when you're making these. So it's really fun to see how they change like that. So there's 8 more squares added onto my blanket. So I'm going to leave you today looking at my beautiful unicorn. I really love this one. I'll probably I say I want to make another one. I really did have fun embroidering this, and I'm sure sometime I will make another one to hang up in my room. But it's just like, you can't hang everything up in your room. You can't keep everything you make. You have to pass it on to other people, right? I only have so many walls in my house, and once they're all full, and I really don't do anything with my quilts outside of my craft room, then what else are you going to do with them, right? So if you're interested in this, please go ahead and check it out in my Art Fryer shop. The link is down below. And that's it for me this week. I have felt very productive. I feel like I've accomplished a lot. Thank you, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye. Now, some of you might be saying, wait, Robin, you were supposed to show us what you got in the mail and the postcards. You're right. I already said goodbye. I cleaned everything up, folded all the quilts, put everything away, tidied everything up, and went, oh my goodness, I forgot what I said I was going to show you guys. So I got a postcard. I'm sorry about the light. I've already gone ahead and opened up my window and let the cool air in. I pulled the curtains aside and everything. So this is what we're working with here. I got one from Oklahoma City. If you notice, a lot of times they do the night scenes and stuff, because I guess that's when the city's, you're in a cement forest there. There's all kinds of buildings and all the lights being lit up. That's the prettiest time of it for them. That's okay, because they at least still got the moon in there, and they've got some nice colors and stuff like that. So, Oklahoma City. Now, the next one was sent to me as a gift. It's a mug rug, but I want to show you the stuff that, the packaging and the things that came with it first. I won't show you the front with all the addresses. I mean, you guys can see mine. That's no big deal. Let me see if I can. There we go. So, this person went ahead and stamped fall leaves all over my envelope. Now, isn't that kind of cool? When I pulled this out of the post office box, I was excited just to have the envelope. Forget what was inside it. I'm already happy just because I saw this. I know, it doesn't take much to get me excited, but when you're a crafter and you see that someone took your basic old post office envelope and created some nice things on it, yeah, it got me a little excited. And then I also have fancy calligraphy. I used to do calligraphy all the time. I really loved it. More leaves stamped. Even got this adorable little kitty playing with a ball of yarn, and it's this pinky purple color, which is my favorite. So amazing. Plaid envelope. And look at the card. Isn't that adorable? Foxes are really where it's at right now. Now, like I said, I'm not going to show you what's inside the card, but I did have to laugh because the person started writing on this side on the inside. Then they wrote on the back of the fox's face here. And then still, there's even more on the back. She writes like I do, because you buy this card and you start putting a little note, and then before you know it, you've filled up all the empty spaces. Now, she didn't have very much to work with, so I'm not going to give you a hard time about that. It's adorable. Now, what came in with all of this was this. Da-da-da-da! Gorgeous mug rug. Look at that. The fall leaves. It's all with the hand binding, hand stitched down to the back. Everything's beautiful. Do you find that, now I would never pick apart anyone's work, but do you ever find that since you're like a quilter, if you were to receive a quilted gift like this, do you always look to say, oh wow, look at the mitered corners, they did such a great job? Now, like I said, I never look for boo-boos, but I always look for, oh, wow, that just beautiful fabric choices, matches the front. It goes with the envelope with the fall theme, and it even has this little made with love charm on the end of that. Now, isn't that just sweet? I think the binding just frames it off really nicely. This is supposed to be my little S'moresies cat, and I do agree she does kind of look a little angry, but that's okay because S'moresies can be evil when she wants to be. Perfect pumpkin fabric. Ooh, that was hard to say. I love the shape of the ghost and the quilting with the little leaves on the end. Great job. Now, I think one of my favorite part is just these buttons. Now, I did leave you a message on your Instagram post where you were showing off how you're preparing the envelope and everything to ask where you got the buttons, but I'm not sure if you saw it or not. So, if you're watching right now, please tell me where you got these buttons. So this is really cute with the little eyes for the pumpkin. And then if you flip it around, hubby noticed right away that that smile is actually a bat, or it could be a bat. But when you flip it around this way, it's a perfect mouth for a pumpkin. So I love my little mug rug. This is definitely not going to have a cup of coffee and a cookie on it or anything like that. This is going to go up on my mini quilt wall. And the other thing that's going to be going up on my mini quilt wall is I received a fabric postcard. Let me take this out of the envelope. I believe she made her own type of envelope just by folding over some of this thick plastic. Or it is already an envelope, I'm not really sure, but it worked out really well. This came all the way from Hawaii. She went ahead and did the little extra, like I said, you know, let your fabric do the work for you, and then she went ahead and did the extra stitching all along just to define, do you like when you do the crazy quilts and you just stitch along there, these little leaves, and this has always been one of my favorites. I use this pattern a lot too. So that's a really beautiful card. I don't ever show you the notes on the back, but she used a cardstock on the back, and you can see the way she did the border. I feel like she used some batting inside, so the cardstock and the batting and the fabric, and it worked out really, really well. So you did an excellent job. This test run for a postcard for you worked out perfectly. Everything mailed fine. It survived. It went no extra postage or anything like that, so it worked out perfect. Thank you so much. Now I can say goodbye to you guys. See you later. Bye.